Go for it.
Excellent. Thank you. So good evening, everyone, fellow Rotarians. Welcome to our e-club, our monthly e-club meeting, and welcome to our guest speaker, to Nancy. Welcome, Jeremiah. It's always a pleasure, to have you with us, and we really appreciate that you took the time, despite your busy schedule, to be with us tonight. To start with, we would like to congratulate our dear Secretary Alicia, and of course our Will as well, our PDG Will, who is now, we have a grandfather, we have a grandmother, and so congratulations to grandmother Gigi.
Well, the picture on there where you see with Cameron sleep.
Awesome,
Yay.
Secretary Alicia.
That was better than the Academy Awards.
No, the picture with the phone is actually his father. His father's holding the phone, and that was a picture of him when he was a baby.
Oh,
Mm.
really?
Yeah, that's how
Oh,
much they look alike.
wow. That's amazing.
So, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks to you.
Alicia, can this be our first E-Club baby?
I think so.
Hopefully that we're aware of, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think so. It's our first one.
we'll have to get him on our logo.
We are extending, our Rotary family, so.
Thank
And
you.
our little honorary member, too.
That's right. Excellent. So today I think we have a pretty straightforward agenda. So our guest speaker, Jeremiah Khokhar, District 6950, our PRPI person. So I will I will let you introduce Jeremiah. And also we have Nancy with us, and Nancy she's in charge of, she's a team leader, an ID team leader, and in charge of ending, polio in the world. So, Andy, without further ado, if you would like to introduce our guest speaker, and then we move from there.
Well, if you've ever been to one of Jeremiah's meetings, there's no need to introduce him because he has his own studio. I mean, it's like being at a rock star place. I mean, the way he handles his meetings, gets everybody involved. I mean, you cannot not leave a Jeremiah meeting and not get something out of PR, marketing, public image, and so forth. And one thing I hope Jeremiah will talk about, something I'm working on, is Jeremiah will talk about what he's working with all of the Rotary clubs in 6950. And I think it's pretty much initiative throughout many of the districts in Rotary and perhaps in many zones as well of the monthly activities that Jeremiah and, of course, our district governor would like the clubs to do in regard to image, to marketing, and really getting our brand out, what we do as far as activities and everything we do. I know we strive for that presidential award that we've been gotten now, I think the last 4 or 5 years, Jeremiah, the E-Club. So we've really excelled with that. One thing I think we really need to do better on, me too, again, attending your meetings and also with Zone, is what we can do not only myself, but as a team. Here we have our leadership team, what we can do as a club to get that nice award from the district for image, but some things that we can do, together and separately to really get the e-club brand out there. As you know, there are quite a few e-clubs, certainly in 6950, and there are quite a few all around Rotary International. But we are certainly a unique brand. We're part of Rotary. We do it a little bit differently. And as you know, during COVID, everybody was really on an e-club meeting. So, and a lot of people are still doing that even with their on-ground clubs. So we'd love to turn it over to you. And perhaps you can share some of those great meetings that I know I've attended with you, and many times on a week. I think it's on a Sunday or whatever in your studio, and which you do so well. And maybe inform us as a club what we can do, some of the initiatives you're working on, and how we can really grow our club image and get it out there for everybody to see. And we'll turn it over to you. And thank you, Jeremiah. And Nancy, thank you for being here tonight.
Well, I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you all for giving me a hearing. Thank you, Alicia, for the kind invitation to speak with you all. It's an incredible honor to be able to serve with all of you in Rotary. I don't know how long all of you have been in Rotary, but I've been in Rotary all of about 6 minutes. So I'm still learning quite. I have a long journey ahead of me on what I need to learn. Luckily, I was in the emerging leaders class this past year in Pittsburgh, and I got to hear from Nancy. And I think I lost my voice at the end of that because the whole polio chant with yet the call and response. It's quite a thing if you've never been in one of Nancy's workshops and one of talks, but they're a lot of fun. My function as the PR chair is very simple in one respect, but then I guess as I've walked around the world of Rotary, it seems like it's very confounding, and I don't think that that's very different from a lot of just for-profit businesses as well. Sometimes when you go into corporate America, sometimes when you talk to the higher-ups, and I would consider all of you the higher-ups, so just take the compliment and run with it. Sometimes the higher ups don't really know what that intern in marketing or that assistant in advertising or what that personnel in PR or HR does, but they're there, they're earning a paycheck, and we're all one big happy family, and it's all great. So I wanted to start really quickly by a couple things. And again, not being able to know who's in the chat and the meeting with me tonight. I'll keep my comments fairly brief and fairly general. And I would like to create 5 to 10 minutes at the end of my talk for some questions, if there are some things that you would prefer that I would rather talk about instead of just listening to a guy that does what he does in Rotary also all day long, drone on about it. So to start with, how do I define PR or public relations as a big umbrella? And sometimes PR gets confused with marketing, gets confused with advertising, gets confused with a whole bunch of other things that we just sort of relegate to in one box over there to mean do something to make us a lot more money, will you? And in Rotary, the make us a lot of money sort of translates itself to, as best I can tell, to membership. Because membership is the litmus test on how well we're doing. Now, when I was asked to become PR chair almost 2 years ago by Governor Chris Casella, I had 2 conditions on being the PR chair. Certainly, I had been a Rotarian all of 6 minutes back then for sure. One of them was a question. The question was, do we have a budget for PR? Because if you don't have a budget for something, like let's say a family vacation or eating out 4 times a week, then guess what you won't do if you don't have a budget to eat out 4 times this week? You won't eat out. So if you don't have a budget by how you can talk to new members, guess what you won't have? New members. Pretty simple, right? Because we're really good, like many religious organizations, for example, we're very good at talking to the choir. After our 2 back-to-back hurricanes went through, I was congratulated incessantly for Rotary International sharing 2 of my videos that went viral for our disaster response. And 2 years ago, when I made the Hurricane Ian video, which many of you have seen, maybe, of our district's efforts down in 6960 in Fort Myers, I was also congratulated and hailed as the next best thing to sliced bread because of that really lame video that I put together. At the time of making that really lame video, by the way, incidentally, I wasn't a Rotarian when I made the video for our Hurricane Ian relief. I had just simply filled out an application to be a member at my club. So it wasn't officially a inducted member in Rotary at the time of the making of that video. Now, what have these 3 videos put together in over the last 2 years? What have they done? I'll give you another quick statistic before I get back to my script, since I'm on this rabbit trail. When I took over the district public image position, Meta, which owns Facebook and Instagram, told me by me logging in as District 6950 that over a period of 28 days, we had reached an average of about 30 people in 28 days. Now, this is from the district Facebook page and Instagram page combined. So don't get bogged down in the numbers. Just try to understand what I'm going to say here, big picture. At the end of year 1, I parked our page. That is to say, I landed the plane at the end of year 1 with our big Polio Plus push with Governor Chris Casella and our landmark efforts to fundraise for polio in recognition and honor of past RI President Herb Brown at 57,000 views for those same 28-day period. Now, if there's any mathematicians or statisticians in the room, would you be willing to venture a guess on what 28 or 30 is in comparison as an increased percentage to 56,000? Let's just call it 56,000% increase, shall we? We went from nothing to something fairly impressive. Okay, still, again, no need to pat me on the back. The Rotary videos we made for our recent hurricanes caused Rotary International to follow our district for the very first time. So somebody at RI that pushes buttons said, we're going to follow this district because we like what we see. That's a good start. But me talking to Rotary International and having videos shared by Rotary International cannot be me talking to people who absolutely need to hear the message and vision of Rotary. Now, it's better than Rotary looking at my videos and saying, this guy's an idiot. Please get him off the airwaves. So it's certainly better than that, but I understand the road ahead is we have a long way to go. So I just wanted to give you some context that PR, in my definition, this is not a textbook. I haven't studied it. I have a degree in finance, and don't ask my dad how I ended up in art, but he's pretty disappointed, I think. I was supposed to be that kid from Pakistan that came here who got a degree in finance and did what many people from my part of the world do, just become insanely wealthy because we're good with numbers or some other cliche like that. I didn't. I became an artist. And here we are now talking. Public relations, as I define it, is as follows. Public relations is getting your local community comfortable doing business with you. I'll say it one more time. Public relations is getting your local community, however you define local community. So another way to say it is the people you would like to very much speak to. It is getting them comfortable doing business with you. So You guys are a little bit different than the other clubs I've been a guest speaker at, but I will share with you a fun opening icebreaker, and I call it an icebreaker, but it's mostly just like makes me unpopular. I'll share with you the first question I ask people at a Rotary Club when I visit. Could you go to any of the wait staff employed by the location where you meet? And could any one of them tell you what it is that you all do as an organization? Friends, put the pencil down. Don't worry about the global grant, okay? You got work to do right there in your room. Now, that's not meant to be a scolding or a negative thing. That's just saying if the people that are literally clearing plates and bringing plates and refilling iced teas year after year couldn't tell you what it is that you guys do succinctly and clearly, we're not communicating well. Let me explain a second term, which I think is often compiled with the word PR or marketing or advertising. It is the word communications. Now, just by raising of hands, would you all say so far that sounds really reasonable? Is communication a big part of this? Okay, so most of you are nodding. I'll take that as a consensus. Madam President, I think we have a quorum okay, thank you. So communication, when most people communicate, and again, I'm using really broad strokes here, so don't pin me down on anything. Can only do so much on a Zoom call. You guys get this. Most people communicate with the desire to get agreement. Let me say that one more time. Most people communicate with the desire to get agreement. But I would like to put to you that communication should be more about clarity than agreement. That is to say that I could say something right now that you disagree with, but it should not be possible that you don't know what the heck I'm saying. That's wild. So we hear this all around the Rotary world. I just got back from PETS, Florida PETS in Orlando, and I serve as well, just started serving on a Zone Summit Marketing Committee. PDG Barbara Goby on the other coast has asked me, and I don't know why I just keep getting these types of phone calls. People seem to figure out that I'm going to say yes to anything they ask me to do, and then they have me do it, which is weird in Rotary. And so I'm serving on that committee, and I keep hearing Rotary is the best kept secret. Now, I don't know if it's recorded, but if it is, and you can get your hands on incoming President-elect Mario, RI President Mario's speech that is now going to be his canned speech just about at every US stop that he's in. I'll just say this, it's depressing, sobering, and very straightforward. He wasn't mincing words when he addressed us at PETS. He said Rotary of the United States is in deep, deep trouble. The numbers are not lying. We're losing about 125,000 people a year in membership. So if you feel frustrated or stressed or a little bit apathetic that, oh man, we're not growing, we can't do as much as we would like to do as an organization, as a club, I want you to know that President-elect Mario laid it on the line. He threw up some screenshots of numbers. Man, never seen 600 PDGs and incoming presidents so quiet. It was astounding. Ironically, and much less eloquently, I have been saying the same thing, even without knowing the numbers. And I've been saying this for the last 2 years, my entire existence as a Rotarian, because this is what I do. I communicate for the sake of clarity for a living. I'm a visual artist and a strategist, and I'm accountable to my clients for the results. Here's the second thing I said to Governor Chris Casella when he asked me to be his PR chair. I already told you, I asked about the budget. The second thing I asked him is to hold me accountable, which was a weird question or a weird thing to say to somebody who just asked you to take over a pretty large responsibility. And I said that the only litmus test, the only, and I still maintain this today, of the success of a PR, anyone, whether you're a chair or on the committee, it doesn't matter, it's just the title. The metric for success is only twofold. You ready? It's increased membership and increased foundation giving. And if your PR chair or your membership chair can't deliver that and be held to accountability, they're not doing anything. Straightforward. So when I look at losing numbers around the United States, what does that tell me? Well, one of a couple possibilities, right? Just logically, we could all be pragmatic. It either means that we got all the wrong PR people working in the United States, or something else more insidious is at work. And that is something that I'm just going to land the plane on, and then I will be quiet and entertain any questions from you. Here's the insidious part that's probably happening. I'm not a baker. I was a chef for 7 years, and I never was diligent enough because I'm not patient by nature. I'm the firstborn of the firstborn in a long line of firstborns from the province of Punjab in Pakistan. That means I have some sense of crazy entitlement. I'm kidding, guys. It's just a joke. All that to say, I'm not very patient. Baking is about precision, sauteing things, grilling a hamburger, a lot of freedom. There's a margin of error in those. But baking is very specific because it requires very specific chemistry. So either we have all the wrong people in all the wrong places, which I don't think is the case, because I think Rotarians are committed, truly dedicated people who want to do something that makes their lives impact somebody else's. I'll give you my quick, naive, younger brother definition of what I believe a Rotarian is. So would you like to hear my 15-second elevator pitch on when someone says, what is Rotary, or why are you in Rotary? Why are you a member? Are you ready? This is worth the price of admission today. Here it is. A Rotarian, by definition, is somebody who, when faced with a problem, assumes it is their responsibility to do something about it. Full stop.
Can you say it again one more time?
It's going to cost you.
Yeah, I know.
That's fair. A Rotarian, by definition, is somebody who, when confronted with a problem, assumes that it is their responsibility to answer the call. I didn't say what cause. I didn't say what kind of cause. I just said any problem.
Yeah. And taking responsibility.
Yes. They assume that it is their responsibility, whether by their time, treasure, or talent, or by the other thing that we excel at as an organization. We are the ultimate dot connectors. I tell PR chairs and club presidents on club visits all the time, they need us more than we need them. You can't be around for 120 years and be doing it all wrong. You couldn't have survived world wars and diseases and just be a useless organization, a bunch of old white men. Look at my face. I am not an old white man. There's a little gray in my beard. I will concede that. So, PR, some practical skills. I'm open to your questions, but let me just tell you the thing that I didn't get to, which is something more insidious. You ever bake a cake and accidentally put salt in it? Probably not.
No.
But let's assume that you had baked a cake and instead of sugar, had put instead salt. My friends, no amount of icing is going to correct the ratio.
Mhm.
Stop putting icing on the cake. Throw the cake away. Start again. Bake it again. And then put the correct amount of icing so that people walking by your window, when confronted with your cake, will say, that looks delicious. Now, is that going to happen automatically? No. And have we defined the cake yet? No. But as I was told by past RI president Barry, who was also at Pets, Rotary is very personal. It's different in different parts of the world. It's different in different clubs. So me interjecting what I think Rotary is may not be what you think Rotary is. So what are you all going to define? Is it a chocolate cake? Is it a lemon cake? What kind of cake are you baking? What kind of cake? And when you bake a cake, do you start with, as a business, do you start with the idea of what kind of cake sells the most? So you could Google this. You could put this in a chat GPT prompt. And you could say, hey, artificial intelligence, tell me which cake has sold the most in the last 5 years. And then let's say chat GPT says, that would not be cake. That's actually a chocolate chip cookie. But you don't like chocolate chip, or you're allergic to chocolate chip. Well, do you make chocolate chip cookies anyways because you're hell-bent on selling them? Are any of you familiar with a product or a service or any kind of business that doesn't solve a problem? Is there a product or a service on the planet that exists that doesn't solve a problem? Can you be successful? Of course not. So my question for you is, what problem are you solving in the world? I don't mean polio or Alzheimer's, or I'm not talking about food insecurity or the environment. I'm not talking about getting on a bandwagon of the 7 areas of focus. I'm saying, don't worry about the problems I'm solving either. What problem have you actually already worked on solving? I know this is all very opaque, but in the time that I've been allotted, it's super difficult to just go nuts and bolts into the how-tos and the best practices and the do's and the don'ts and storytelling. But your storytelling and your club culture are ultimately the cake that I'm referring to. If you don't love this club, and if this club doesn't feed you in a significant kind of way, there's no story to tell. So we can employ strategies. I can tell you, use Canva, try to do videos, try to go door to door, try to bribe them with shipments of alcohol and said chocolate chip cookies. But if you guys aren't thriving as individuals in this club culture, where you are feeding each other and feeding off of each other, where this is a truly fulfilling thing, and then step 2, being able to communicate that clearly, the value of how this family of humanitarians and stewards have come together to enact real change, it becomes incredibly difficult to employ strategies on winning accolades and winning awards. I don't really think so. I left one number out from President Mario's speech at Florida Pets. I said 125,000 people leave Rotary every year. Would you like to know how many people join Rotary every year?
Yeah.
125,000.
Wow.
We're dying.
I see.
This is not like good news. I can't sugarcoat it. And I'm so grateful to President-elect Mario for also not sugarcoating it. It was just straightforward. What are we doing? Why are we here? Why'd you come? Okay. I know that sounded very negative and very doom and gloom, but if we don't look at this cake that's sitting on our countertop and acknowledge that it's potentially got salt in it and we should just start over again, you'll just keep heaping icing on it until the cake to icing ratio just becomes bizarre. You know? And if you've been in a club where you thought, how bizarre, I need to find a different club, that's probably why. The icing to cake ratio was just messed up. All right. Well, I appreciate you guys listening to me. I don't know how much time I've been talking for, but I'm assuming my
You're,
internal clock tells me I'm
Jeremiah,
good.
you're fine. And just to let you know, ChatGPT says that chocolate cake is the #1 cake.
I figured as much. Yeah, I would have guessed that. I would have.
Bread because you treat every banana, you put it in one at a time,
Yeah.
you go from there. The one thing that I really enjoy about this club, and Will and I joined the club because he had shoulder surgery. He had to be out of, we couldn't go to weekly meetings. We have established ourselves as a club where people who really they love Rotary, they really want to stay Rotarians, but they can't go to a meeting. Like we have one lady who we're going to be, I would say within the next week, bringing into our club. She and her husband sail. They do a lot of traveling. She loves Rotary. She wants to stay in it. She found us, and that's a repeat story for our club. We're here, and we can reach out and we can connect with people around the world that love Rotary and want to stay in it.
And I think the question would be for me to identify how we can, making so that, people can know us, a little bit more, because I don't think that a lot of people are aware that we have an e-club, that it's an opportunity. For example, you can travel for 6 months, right? You still want to remain a Rotarian, then you can move into the e-club for, a certain period and go back. So the question is for me, what we can do in order, from a kind of communication point of view, to basically, have a better marketing and communication around those e-clubs.
Well, that's a great question, and I'll give you the very quick soundbite answer, and then I'll give you a slightly longer story. So the soundbite answer is that when we communicate, so when we talk about PR and marketing, what's more important than what we're trying to say is who we're speaking with. So you have to ask the first question is, who is the type of person that would like to have a community that would be joined via Zoom, whereby they can be engaged in both fellowship, because we're a membership organization. We're not a service organization. We are first a membership organization. So a club president and a club board, your client are the current members on the Zoom call, not new Rotarians. So it starts with communicating inside the club first. I would get a whole bunch of surveys sent out. Hey, how are we doing? Why do you come? List your top 3 reasons for being on this call every week, or however regular you guys are, right? You may have already done some of this stuff. That's the short soundbite. The longer version is, I met a World War II veteran completely providentially. I don't believe in accidents. I only believe in providence. So he called me up looking for a photo for something. We don't need to get bogged down in the stories. I knew him for about a year before he transferred and moved to Orlando to be in the Lake Nona Veterans Facility in their hospice care. He just turned 100 years old in January. So I reached out to District Governor Sonia Labasco in Orlando, who's a member of the Lake Nona Club, which is literally 10 minutes from the VA facility. And I met her at a zone event. And I said, hey, a friend of mine who's a World War II veteran is moving to Orlando. And I've been caring for him and I've befriended him. And I love this man. I didn't expect as a Pakistani kid who was required to learn how to, who was required to study world history in my school system, in the Oxford system of education that I was raised in. I was not expecting my history book to just walk into my studio one day, right? Super bizarre. So that happened. He served for General George, right under George S. Patton, as a soldier in World War II and was on Normandy Beach. So pretty epic for me. I said, is there any way that you would help me care for this gentleman? Just visit him once in a while. He does have a daughter in Orlando. So fast forward a year, and because of her excitement and her all-in-ness to help me love on Mr. Harold Gross, Sergeant Harold Gross, their club now is going to add 8 new members in an Rotary Impact Club, because they're going to do an Impact Club at the Lake Nona Veterans Facility, and they're going to add 8 new Rotarians to the rolls just by this one little effort. So it's really understanding who you're talking to and then go there. So who are the people on the digital space that also travel or that are professional that do not have time to meet in person? Where do they live? Can you just tell me a couple of places you would find that person on the internet?
People in Europe, in the US, with the globalization.
No. I mean on a specific place on the internet, not like physically.
Oh,
LinkedIn.
Thank you, Nancy. That's it. So if your club doesn't have a daily LinkedIn post with like a recap of your club meetings, none of this is going to matter. They're not on Facebook. It's just Nancy and me probably on Facebook. I'm on Instagram too. But you'd have to be on Twitter and you'd have to be on LinkedIn. That's step one.
yeah.
And then what content are you putting out there? What's the value proposition? Each of you clearly uses a device that has a camera attached to it that you can make noises into. Yes?
Yes.
All of you should record your Rotary story and then record a second video on why you're in this e-club. What do you love about this e-club? Make both videos 30 seconds or less.
Mm-hmm.
Send it to your president and post those once a week.
That's great.
Jeremiah, we talked about that, and also I don't know what you think for younger members. We were talking about maybe doing some on TikTok.
So I'm in the minority. This is probably has a function of this probably has to do with being from the third world. I spent the first 18 years of my life living in Pakistan, so I'm a little skeptical. I don't think TikTok is the place for Rotary. I don't. I think that so because I also do what I do in Rotary, I also do it like in a way to keep my girlish figure and this soft skin with all the coconut oil that I consume. I don't get the luxury of being wrong very often. It's very difficult to keep clients if you're not bringing results. And I can tell you that none of my clients that actually have to make a paycheck or make payroll, none of them are on TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
TikTok's really great if you're planning on doing one thing. I'll just say this very simply. TikTok is fantastic. Any social media platform is fantastic if you plan on doing the thing that most influencers, everyone know what an influencer is? So if you plan on monetizing your channel, that is to say your full-time job will be to make YouTube videos or TikTok reels, then it can be very beneficial. But remember, the paycheck comes from TikTok or from YouTube, not from the human capital. So if you're looking to talk to humanitarians and people who want to change the world, I mean, that's why I became a Rotarian, right? I have some pretty ancient ideas, and I believe that I was doing it the wrong way for many, many, many moons. And I came to my senses by the grace of God. And I decided if I was going to do something revolutionary, it was going to happen through something ancient, not something new. And that's why I joined Rotary. That's my Rotary story. Because there's power in, and I get this, and you all are, I see everyone on the call is probably old enough to understand this, is that I come from a place where we prize to a dangerous level, to a fault. We prize our elders and our ancestors. We just do. So when Chris Casella said, hey, I'm going to honor this guy you've never met and won't know much about, his name's Herb Brown. When he told me that, it was all in. I didn't need a whole dog and pony show to understand that. I was like, no, this is right. We do honor people who've gone before us. So this made a lot of sense. We hit records in polio fundraising for our district, not for other districts, not competing with anyone else but ourselves. So Andrew, did I answer your question?
Oh, yes. Thank you.
TikTok's not the place to be. Because any place that you go, you have to make it your full-time job. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
You like it's a relationship. Like if I was on the Zoom call, right? And I was like, well, guys, yep, no, I hear you. I'm getting it. What'd you say? That doesn't feel like I'm all in
That's
on
right.
being a resource to you.
Yeah.
So you can't treat social media and the internet like that. Now, I don't want to get into the bowels of the belly of the beast, but I'll just say this and move along. They're only going to reward faithfulness. Will you be faithful to LinkedIn or TikTok or YouTube? Have you ever watched a YouTube video? The 3 camera angles, they're walking in like the Serengeti, and somehow they put their phone on the path ahead of them and walk past the phone. I don't have time for that. If I'm ever hiking in the Swiss Alps, I promise you, I'm not speeding up ahead, dropping my phone on the trail, walking backwards, and then walking by my phone so I can get some compelling footage. That's not going to be me. But that's me, because I don't care about YouTube's reward. I'm serving a much higher calling, and so I have to work within the system, but I don't have to bow down to the system.
This is nicely said.
There is an algorithm. You do have to, it's not just accidental, but I would like to encourage you all when you're brainstorming and thinking this through, even whether how you're going to do a LinkedIn strategy, just pick one social media and stick to that. So you guys decide, stick to it, be compelling. I'm not going to tell you post 3 times a week, but guys, if you're talking to professionals, business professionals specifically, are they checking LinkedIn, most of them, on Saturday afternoon? Probably not the time to post.
Yeah.
When are most professional people going to be engaged in the pursuit of the networking and the hustle? 9 to 5, Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
Super simple strategy. So,
Yeah.
so one, stick to it, beta test. Most influencers that get to 1 million followers or just amass a lot of followers, the statistics on those people is you have to do this consistently for 2 years. So I'd like to, as I'm encouraging you and giving you the my favorite slogan in all of marketing, which I've stolen from Lowe's or Home Depot. I don't remember which one I'm stealing it from, but it's the old slogan, you can do it, we can help. Right? But I'd like to tell you that's the good news. The bad news is that success will not be instantaneous. You will have to commit to the long haul, because just like that HR sensitivity training back in the 90s, where all of us were getting in corporate America, we're getting those HR sensitivity emails saying, hey, you should be nicer about these emails you're rattling off at 4 a.m. to your teammates, because there's a real person at the other end of this email. So we should all be more sensitive. So just like that, it's not lost on me as a digital visual artist, a photographer, and a filmmaker, and somebody who serves in Rotary. It's not lost on me. And I use this analogy when I'm talking to my students. I was on the faculty at the Dunedin Fine Arts Center, which is here in Pinellas County, for 5 years. And I would tell my students who are struggling with the concept of how you give meaning to a photograph. Here's how you do it. Do you know that when you take a photo of a sunset, has anyone taken a picture of a sunset? Beautiful sunset? Okay. Did you know that that photo of a sunset is not for the sun? Did you know that?
No.
Has anyone ever taken a photo of a bird or a fish or a dolphin or a boat? Did you know that all those photos of the fish or the dolphin or the birds, you know, they're not for those animals? You know who those pictures are for? They're for people. So you can be hell-bent on the most perfect photo of the most perfect flower, but you still have to think about people when you take that
That's
photo
right.
because it's for people.
Yeah.
So you can get lost in the social media doesn't make sense. It's all AI and this is all against us. All this stuff. You're just talking to people, friends. It's just people. My videos are nothing special. I'm not being fake, humble. Please. My videos are nothing special. In most of the videos that we've had gone viral, shared by Rotary International or just gone a long ways away, most of them have been disaster response videos on my part. And most of them have been in devastating conditions where I'm not in my studio. It's not a controlled environment. The microphone's not working. The wind is blowing. People look like crap. They've been sweating. These are not beautiful videos because when I made them, I was not thinking about what was in front of me. I was thinking about what was behind me. And there's a whole district of Rotarians counting on me telling the story well. And for me, the story well is to get out of the way. It's not my Rotary story. It is the story as honestly as I can tell it. Go ahead and go check out our YouTube page. Go to our Facebook page on our district, District 6950 Facebook page. When you get to the page, click on the top tab that says videos. Look at all the videos. Most of them are rubbish. Gonna win 0 awards. But 0 awards that tell 100% of the story is better than really, really pretty flower photos that nobody cares about.
No, I think you hit it. No.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for sharing. Very inspiring.
My
Thanks.
pleasure. Thank you guys for having me.
You're
That's
welcome.
awesome.
So I think, Andy, we
Yeah,
got work to do.
you do. Do we have a few minutes to hear from Nancy? Just
Oh,
and I
yes.
know we're going to have to get her back on again because
I can't follow that.
oh yes,
Jeremiah,
you can,
now
Nancy.
I know who you are, Jeremiah. Now I remember. I remember you in the Merging Leaders. I looked at your face and I'm thinking, where do I know him from? We spoke at the end of that Emerging Leaders, and I need to talk with you more. So yeah, I will come back another time and talk about National Immunization Days, but just as a follow-up to what Jeremiah's been talking about in public image is what we say in Rotary, public image, and your image is who you are, how you present yourself. And he's given you a lot of great ideas, and it's all about talking about Rotary and telling people how it has affected you and how they can affect other people and help other people, and what their impact is. Years ago, I'm an educator, and I graduated with the early childhood education, and I taught school for a number of years, and then I went back and got a master's degree in library science. Now this is old school library, people. This is not, we had one computer in the library that had 4 megabytes of memory. My God, we thought we had died and gone to heaven, if you know what I'm saying.
Dewey Decimal.
Yeah, this has been a few years ago, but I loved it. Because I was in the library and nobody wanted to bother with technology. Technology was coming in, and people were beginning to pick it up and use it a little bit. It landed in my lap. You do it.
Wow.
You make the order. We want computers, so you order them. You put in what is supposed to be in there. Nobody else knew what to do. So I had to learn by the seat of my pants, so to speak. And I fell in love with it. I just loved it. Am I expert in it? No. Do I know everything about it? Heck no. But I love to read about it. I love to play with it. And years ago, when I was in the library, I developed a technology club. Now I'm elementary school. I developed a technology club. Children came, I had about 30 children that came at 7 o'clock in the morning for 1 hour before school started to play around with technology. That was the old days of IBM computers, Android computer, or not, Microsoft Word and things like that. I talked the school system into getting the MacBook Pros, which nobody knew how to operate them. I didn't either, but I had one. I bought one myself, and once you go Mac, you can't go back. It's hard. So I started playing around with things, and I begun to buy different different programs, and the children bought into it, and they actually learned it and taught me what to do. We were podcasting back then, Jeremiah. Back in the 1990s, we were podcasting, we were blogging. Those kids were blogging with podcast. Everybody think that's a new thing. It's not. Same thing as QR codes. You remember QR codes years ago and it didn't catch on? Now you can't go anywhere without a QR code. You got to have a QR code for everything, which is great. I mean, I think it's great. What goes around comes around. Same thing with Rotary. What goes around comes around with Rotary, I think. In the United States,
I think we lost her.
Talk about technology.
Yeah.
You might get back.
It's a good
Oh,
transition.
Andrew, that's a low blow. That's a low blow. I'm just kidding. Yeah, that is so ironic and sad.
It is.
I think she's back.
Nancy, come back.
Come back,
Uh-oh.
Nancy. Come back.
am I gone?
No,
You
you were
were.
another dimension.
For a couple of
I was in
minutes.
another minute. I'm in another. Am I back now?
You're back.
Okay, where did I leave off?
QR codes.
QR codes. Everybody's got a QR code now. And then I morphed over to why I think, this is my humble opinion, why I think Rotary in the United States is going downhill. My opinion is that we've dumbed down Rotary. We've dumbed it down. If you can walk and talk at the same time, you can get in Rotary. And nobody knows what it is. We just go out. I'm guilty of this. Come on to my Rotary Club. Do I explain what Rotary is? Do I give them any clue about why they should join? No. Come eat, come fellowship with us, and maybe you'll pick it up, what it is. Most of the time they don't. I'm guilty. I'm guilty of that. So now we're taking on a new tactic. And Jeremiah, I love what you said about LinkedIn and getting on one or two platforms. My Rotary Club is on Facebook. There's only several of us that post it. And I talked about, did you hear the part where I did podcasting and blogging a long time ago? I did that. Well, I decided that one of my goals for my In Polio Now coordinator post that I would do a podcast. Did I know how to start a podcast now? No, I did not. I mean, I remember doing it years ago with my kids at school. I did not have a clue how to do that. So I just started researching it. I Googled it. And
ChatGPT is also a good source.
I Googled it. And I taught myself how to set up a podcast. I'm on Buzzsprout. Do I publicize it like I should? No. I don't. I need a publicist. I need someone to do it for me because I'm not a good promoter of it. So I've got to learn how to do that a little bit better. But my goal right now is to use it for club meetings about polio. That's my cue right this minute. So if you need club meetings, all of them, some of them run a little bit over, but all of them are 25 to 30 minutes to use as a club meeting. And I've interviewed people like John Germ, Carol Pandak at Rotary International, Brenda Cressy, past trustee. I've interviewed Mike McGovern, who's the chair of the IPPC committee, the International Polio Plus Committee. I've interviewed Anna Pinkney, who is a polio survivor in Chicago. So I've interviewed quite a few people in the Rotary realm, and so they can tell you their role in Rotary and polio eradication. So that's what I've used it for at the moment. I'm going to stop right here, but like I said, I think we've dumbed it down in Rotary. You go to India. I just came back from India. We landed at a place called Dunbad, and I'll come back and talk more about the NID, but we landed at a place called Dunbad. It's in the middle of nowhere. It's a coal mining town. And the day my team landed, there were 23 of us. The day that we landed, immediately there were 5, 6, 7 reporters there. Here came we sat at a table. They interviewed us in Hindi. I spoke in English, but in Hindi, they interviewed us. There were 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 microphones there, interview questions, TV cameras, phones. They were interviewed us. We were in the national news. We were in every magazine. I mean, every newspaper in the country. That's Rotary in India.
Wow, beautiful.
That's Rotary in India. So just a different type. They take it seriously. They do meaningful work. Not that we don't, but they give it a value proposition is what they do. And Jeremiah, we need to talk further. I want to talk to you some more because
I've made
go ahead.
like about 5 notes on things we could literally do 5 podcasts on. And I think the very last thing that you just said about the meaningful part, I think that's so important to sit with for a minute. And I'll speak just as somebody who's lived more parts of my life here in this country in the West than I did in Pakistan, because I was just a boy when I left. I was 18 when I left my home to go to school just outside Chattanooga, Tennessee.
He's
Now we lost Jeremiah.
That is interesting.
It's a reversal.
That's right.
Yeah, I know what he's going to say.
But
Oh, he's back.
meaningful is a really important thing to contend with. And this is so huge. In India, Pakistan, I've been to Africa, I've been all over the world, Far East Asia. They're not just doing things to kind of make life a little bit better. You know what I mean? Let's go find, like, my Rotary Club has a street in Safety Harbor. Now, Safety Harbor is a pretty dang expensive zip code to live in, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Not saying everyone that lives in Safety Harbor is rich. It's to say that Safety Harbor is an upper middle class town. Mm-hmm. So we adopted a road. It's just what you do in Rotary, man. You adopt a road. You clean it up, right? And so I went to my president last year and I said, I feel really funny about picking up trash from a street literally along Tampa Bay, where the average home price is $1 million.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, all these people that live here all have yard people that also pick up the trash on their particular lots.
Mm-hmm.
I see them on their lawnmowers with the little quicker picker, that my grandfather used to have. They're there snapping up all the trash. What if my Rotary Club did this? By the way, I'm telling on my Rotary Club, so you don't think that I'm some kind of perfect Rotarian with some perfect Rotary Club. It's all jacked up. We're all a work in progress, okay? We all need a kick in the butt. But I said, what if we picked up our $1 million street along Bayshore in Safety Harbor, Pinellas County, and then found a really filthy street where there's used needles and broken glass bottles around a children's playground in some impoverished community close to our town, which I know where they're at because I'm a photographer, so I drive around. And what if we said, hey, we'd like to pick up the trash from the street where we get a nice little metal sign on the road that says street adopted by Safety Harbor, noon. And then also go and say, but we're also going to get your back. We'll also clean up your street. So when you talk about the projects you're doing as a group, if they're just giving you busy work or they just feel like, well, it could be meaningful. I had a discussion with the president-elect of the Wesley Chapel Rotary. They spent 3 years building a home for women being saved out of sex trafficking. So he came to me at Pets this weekend and said, hey, do you think we screwed up by canceling that project? Because our members, frankly speaking, were exhausted talking about the Build the Home project. You know how clubs just get fixated on something and then they just do that? Like this lady, Nancy Barbee, you may have heard about. She just gets fixated on polio and then she just won't give up. You know those kind of people? So I asked him, at any point during the Build the Home project, whoever launched the idea, whoever thought this was going to be a good idea, did anyone actually talk about the root cause? Now, can anyone tell me what Nike sells?
Shoes.
They sell motivation, sir. What does Apple sell? What does Apple sell? Not computers and phones. Apple sells innovation. That is their value proposition. So what does your Rotary Club sell? Is it just like Micro? You guys know Micro from Dirty Jobs?
Yeah.
Guy who narrated the Deadliest Catch? Okay. Micro calls Rotarians bloody do-gooders. That's something that we should sit with for a minute. Why? Are we just busy trying to do good works, or are we actually solving a problem? What problem are you solving with your service projects? That applies to, again, a little bit different for you guys, but I would ask a traditional club with their social events, what problem are you trying to solve for? I have several members in my club who will not drink alcohol. Many of our socials happen at pubs where they do not have food. You see how that's a mismatch?
Yeah.
Now, if you really must consume alcohol, and I'm not judging, that's fine. Are there not establishments in the United States of America that do both food and alcohol?
True.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
To meet at a brewery? Sir.
I wanted to share just one tidbit related to our club, and it particularly applies to Nancy's work. For years, I have known a wonderful Rotarian named Dick Schultz. Dick is a polio survivor. Nancy probably knows him. I had invited Dick to our E-Club many times. He was with us as a speaker, but he was pretty much wedded to the St. Pete Sunrise Club. Mm-hmm. Well, Dick became a post-polio syndrome recipient. And his mobility decreased to the point where he could no longer attend that brick and mortar club that he loved so much. And he asked if he could join our club because we didn't have a mobility issue for him. We didn't have a breakfast that he couldn't come to. What he could do is share his current and evolving situation, be a wonderful member, supplying Alicia every month with updates on polio and polio plus.
Weekly,
yeah. And so the convenience of an E-Club was a big plus for him. Our newest member to be travels, and the first meeting she joined with us, I said, "Look, what's the background that I see in your picture?" She says, "Oh, that's our sailboat. We're off the coast of Crete." People in our club can be anywhere in the world and be good Rotarians and participate in making the world a better place.
Yeah.
And we have our members, let's see, we have 20, right now 24, 25 members. Feet on the ground represent about 15 different districts that they live in. So yeah, you know, Jeremiah, you're right. You know, we need to go out into the community. Most of our members are in a different community, but we can all come together and do something good, really good in those communities. Yeah, it'd be kind of hard to get us all together and clean a road.
Yeah. But we did a survey several years ago, asked our members, what are you interested in? Of all these 7 areas of focus and more, what would you like our club to focus on? And the answer was literacy and the environment. Literacy number 1, which is part of why we're doing this project in Ivory Coast in Africa, and why we have encouraged all of our members to be part of SRAG.
Yeah, no, and I'll be honest, I'm not familiar because I haven't really been a part. I mean, I've been obviously on Zoom meetings, but because I haven't really spent any meaningful time, that's why at the start of my talk, I said, hey, these are all going to be kind of general principles that hopefully will be at least inspirational and get some wheels turning, because you guys have a much better handle on the dynamics of your club and the membership and the value proposition that your club brings. So yeah, please don't take any of my comments to mean like, well, if you don't do this and that. These are really much broader. So I appreciate that, sir.
Nancy?
I think
It's getting late, so I'm
yeah,
gonna
it's getting late, and yeah, we are overrunning now. I think it was great conversation.
Wonderful.
I really appreciate, all those good idea, how inspiring it is. I think as a follow-up for us, Andy, and our club members, we really need to figure out how. I know we have created our LinkedIn page. Was it last year that we should revive it and figure out, how we can be more present there? And yeah, thanks a lot, everyone. And before we leave, I think let's close with a 4-way test.
Okay.
So, is it the truth?
Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Would it be beneficial to all concerned? And is it fun?
And is it fun? Excellent.
Thank you all.
Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thank you, Jeremiah.
You guys
Thank
get
you, Nancy.
together.
Thank you, Nancy.
We'd like to have
We'll talk. Thanks, Jeremiah.
It was great. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
And yeah.